is 8:30, whatever, 9:30. Let's start this edition of KCIM Sports Rewind. We've got Sports Director Jeff Blankman. I'm John Ryan, and making his very first appearance on the show, technically, Mason Nealon. How you doing, Mason?
Good. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. We'll see how good you're doing after our trivia question, by the way. So we're going to put your knowledge to the test. This will be a half an hour. It's going to seem like an hour and a half.
Might take us half an hour to come up with the other couple of schools.
I don't know. Every episode of Rewind to me seems like an hour and a half, though. So we'll try this out. We're waiting on Chris Cuellar. We were set up for an interview with Chris. Unfortunately, he's probably a little bit busy right now, just not able to get to the phone. So we're going to try to get him on this half hour here coming up. But we got track to talk about. We got a lot of stuff. The NCAA tournament going on. So we got the bracket challenge coming up. But we are going to begin with our trivia question of the morning. You guys, I actually asked you this. I said it was pretty easy, and I thought it was anyway. I believe that's probably Chris Cuellar on the phone right now.
Yeah, if you want to answer real quick.
All right, we're just going to go ahead and take a live caller on the air here. Is this you, Chris?
Hey, guys. How we doing?
We're doing great here. Thanks so much. Sorry about the confusion a little bit. We had a little hard time connecting, but I assume you probably got a few things going on over there at the association.
That and my boss just is back in the office for the first time in a week, so there was a lot of processing happening in a very short period of time. So thanks for snagging me on, guys.
Yeah, and nobody can screw up the flow of an office like the boss, right?
I'm not saying that on the record or off the record.
Well, Chris, I tell you what, we appreciate you joining us. You guys broke some big news recently. The association moving the boys basketball tournament from Des Moines, Wells Fargo Arena, where it has been for a very, very long time, to Hilton Coliseum. Tell us why.
It's actually a pretty simple explanation, guys. We felt like the tournament was needing a jolt and some juice. Attendance has been consistently trending down for quite a few years, and Hilton was looking for a handful of new opportunities with Chi-Town on the horizon and momentum happening with Iowa State men's and women's basketball, and we felt like it was a good match. Mutual conversations kind of rolled on over the last few months, and we realized it was a realistic possibility, and we talked it through with Iowa Event Center so that they were kept apprised of the situation throughout, and we think it has a great opportunity to bring an awesome basketball environment to the high school state tournament, especially right before spring break starts across the state.
When the idea was first brought up, was it kind of like, I don't know about that, we can't do that, right? How long did it take for it to get some serious traction?
Great question. Maybe a few weeks before we realized it was realistic. Since COVID, there has been kind of this misunderstanding, I would say, publicly about how venues are available, if they're available, what can be used. And there's always these pie-in-the-sky places of just take state baseball to Field of Dreams or Wrigley Field, or just take basketball to Hilton or Carver or wherever. And the list goes on and on depending on the sport. And so, we had heard Hilton floated around, but how realistic it was, well, then, we had to have some sit-down conversations with them. And it turned out, there was a mutual interest.
Chris, Jeff Blankman here. Appreciate you joining us today. Hey, you mentioned the Chi-Town thing. Was it a stroke of luck, or was it a timing thing that you guys worked on that you're going to be moving there the exact same year that the Chi-Town's going to be opening up?
No, that's just how it worked out, Jeff. That was part of their thinking as well, but it's also part of the overall package, for us and what can we provide the tournament and, give fans, maybe a greater incentive to come down for a few days. If this was just a standalone small venue without features in the middle of a cornfield, we might feel a little bit differently. But, this is an outstanding basketball facility, that will now have places to stay and things to do right outside and connected by skywalk in some cases. So.
Well, I will tell you that covering state girls wrestling and also state volleyball down in the Coralville area, the way that area of the town, it's so easy to walk to everything and everything. I think Chi-Town's going to give that exact same feeling, so I'm kind of excited about that. You mentioned here a moment ago, too, kind of the rumors of just move it here, just move these tournaments there. when I did the Kemper Union game there in that sub-state game at Drake this year, there was a lot of talk that, hey, they're trying out, arenas like Drake, that maybe they're going to not have the quarterfinals at, Wells Fargo, that someday it'll be just the semis and the finals. Is that ever been a discussion with you guys of maybe holding the quarterfinals in places like Drake and other arenas like that around the state?
We have discussed that and did discuss that, and ultimately, especially this move to Hilton, I hope clears that up for people that is not happening. At least not any time in the immediate or planned future. We want a way to elevate whatever the go-to-state round is in all of our sports, whether that's 8 or 4 or whatever. And, basketball offers a unique opportunity to do that. Being on that Saturday specifically for those sub-state finals in the smaller schools at a neutral site, it offers that ability as well. And we were really fortunate this year for the first time that we had, 3 colleges hold doubleheaders, and then we had another sub-state final at Swick and Creston. So, that was 2 games at Buena Vista, 2 games at Wartburg, and 2 games at Drake. And, based on all the reports and host schools, things went really well at all 3 sites.
Was there any pushback from Des Moines in that area? Like, oh, you need the hotel rooms, you need all of this stuff. You guys have been, and both associations, the girls and the boys, have been spreading out their state tournaments now, with baseball being here in Carroll, and Jeff, you mentioned wrestling in Coralville and the volleyball there as well. Did you guys get any pushback from the Des Moines tourism area that you're moving out a great event for us?
Yeah, they didn't want to see it go, and we're still going to have wrestling there. We're still going to have basketball next year there. We're still going to have track and field and soccer there. It's our capital city. It's a great city. It's a great host city. Iowa Event Center is a great place to host events. It was less about Iowa Event Center, and that's what, our conversations with them were about the entire time. It was more about how we believe we can elevate the state basketball tournament and, try to just give it a shot in the arm of something different.
How do you feel the move to Hilton is going to give that shot in the arm? What are some of the things you guys are maybe trying to do or planning to do, as you mentioned, to maybe try to get that, attendance to jump up a little bit?
Yeah, for folks who made the trip down this year, we even made quite a few, court and venue adjustments this year that were really well taken at Wells Fargo Arena, and we've seen some really positive feedback on. Not only, post-media rights set up with the Iowa High School Sports Network, we'll have an ability to affect the in-venue experience a little more, and we want to build on that. So we want teams that arrive to, feel an even greater part of the spectacle and welcome to stick around and have spaces to meet and hang out and feel like they're part of the tournament. We want spectators to, have an even better tournament experience. Being at Hilton, just out of the sheer setup of the spot, is just going to put people closer to the floor, more vertical to the floor. We intend on using the student sections as they currently have them laid out at Iowa State. So if you haven't been there, it's behind each of the baskets, and there's space for pep band next to both of those as well. So we want to kind of keep improving what we can, and then also build off the built-in setup that Hilton offers.
Chris, you mentioned the network here a moment ago. That ends here at the end of the baseball season and stuff. You've got a new deal already in place. Can you tell us about that new deal with Iowa Public Television?
Yeah, so we were looking for broadcast options for next school year for where are some of those most watched events going to take place. And we had a handful of options, but ultimately Iowa PBS and their statewide TV coverage and their streaming capability made it very attractive, for us. And we think that's a great partnership that makes it easy to find our football, wrestling, and basketball finals. We had to battle a little bit of cognitive dissonance. There is a misunderstanding either through the girls' union being on PBS for the last 10 years or, people's brains from the 70s and 80s. But, wrestling had not appeared on PBS for over 20 years. Football finals only ever appeared twice on PBS, and it was 40 years ago. And our basketball finals have been televised for almost 75 years, and they have never been on PBS. So this will be the first time PBS will be producing and broadcasting those. So, those marquee events that people really look to us for will now have a consistent, easy to find, free home.
Is this the last event that we're going to see move out of Des Moines, do you think?
For now, absolutely. This was a little bit in the works, and it just came to be because of the timing of Hilton, Sci-Town, our event contract, those kinds of things. Wrestling, again, this goes back to the pie in the sky venue conversation that I brought up, which is just that I think people think that things can be held anywhere. Well, just put wrestling in Kinnick in February, right? Why just move it out there. Why wouldn't you do that? And, there are only so many places, and we think that the tournaments that we still have in Des Moines are great tournaments and great venues.
Yeah, why don't we have wrestling at Kinnick? I think we should. That's a heck of an idea. I think he's ought to run that one up the line there.
I don't think I'm going to go cover it in February outside.
Logistically speaking, though, for a lot of us in smaller towns, it is so much easier to get to Ames and to Hilton Coliseum rather than trying to get downtown Des Moines. Was that ever discussed?
In terms of, we wanted a centralized location if we could do it and if it made sense, and so Ames does make sense, on that standpoint. I can't tell you that it saves that much time from Orange City or Hull, where a couple of our 2A and Inwood, where our 2A title game would have been from, and a 3A title team. But it is a good location. I think something that maybe hits a little harder than that even is a comment that I don't know if I've shared it with you guys or on the air before or not, but one of the folks who helps host us and played a pivotal role in getting our tournament to Carroll for baseball a couple of years ago shared a comment with me in the golf cart that has stuck with me ever since. And they said, this dollar matters in Carroll County. And, that is something that affects maybe how you view some of those events. And it's not that it doesn't matter to Des Moines or Polk County in any way, but I think, you brought up tournaments being moved around a little bit, and it's not a good or a bad thing. It's just that, these are impacts on a lot of these communities, and maybe it's just another community that this can have an impact on.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's a great idea to spread tournaments around a little bit. You spread that economic dollar around. You help out who you can, things like that. And clearly that had to be a Jeff Honnold reference, wasn't it?
No, it was not.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, that sounded awfully smart to be Honnold.
It was Trish Roberts, so shout out Trish Roberts.
Oh, well, that makes total sense now.
That does.
Yeah.
I would never thought Honnold could come up with something that sharp. But, Chris, the one question I keep hearing from people with the move is what's the parking going to be like at Hilton Coliseum?
Oh, my gosh, Jeff. Oh, my gosh. I learned from Facebook that there's no parking outside Hilton Coliseum.
Not a bit?
There will be more parking outside Hilton, between Hilton and Jack Trice. There will be more parking spots once Sci-Town is complete than there were before.
It just pains me because I know there was the one year we had the ice storm and Jeff Blankman had to come running in to try to get there in time for the tip-off of one of the games because parking was at a minimum or in downtown Des Moines.
Yeah, and
the
forever.
ice storm took forever to get downtown and things like that. So, yeah, I know.
Luckily, that was the girls' tournament and not the boys', Chris. But, yeah, literally, they started pregame before I got in the building, and I got hooked up and went on as they were doing the jump ball. So.
I will make sure that, before our first game in 2027, that the officials have eyes on you before they throw the ball up. So.
That would be good. Maybe the State Patrol, too. We need those eyes on Blankman. Let's talk about Carroll Baseball Stadium, of course, Merchants Park. The improvements are underway. What is your latest update on all of that?
Oh, the dugouts, press box. I think I saw some pictures of the press box. That might have been the most recent setup that I had seen. It's just exciting. I mean, we've extended our contract at Merchants Park, and we're seeing these developments take place, and we get to bring our tournament back to the spot where even teams who were there last year or the year before are going to get to see improvements at an experience that they already enjoy. And, I hope that that's thrilling for folks in Carroll and the folks at Merchants Park that have done the actual work on all this, but it's really exciting for us who, we get to parachute in for a week and enjoy, all that has to offer.
Chris, question on the 3A, 4A. I know it's moving to Sioux City this year. Permanent home for that. I know that there was some talk maybe of Carroll, but that's not going to work because you can't probably get all 4 classes here and play it in a week. So what's the plans, for the 3A, 4A state tournament in the future?
Sioux City this year, Cedar Rapids for a 3-year contract immediately after that. So it'll be at Veterans Memorial Stadium, which is at Colonel's Park in Cedar Rapids. So it was there in 2024 for the first time, and it was a great experience. And a really good minor league ballpark. We're expecting a similar experience in Sioux City, even though we are fully aware of the geography of the state of Iowa, and that it might be a little further for some of those 3A, 4A qualifiers. But again, Sioux City should have a great ballpark to offer for this year, and they're going to put their best foot forward.
Chris Cuellar with the Athletic Association on the phone with us here this morning on Rewind. Let's talk a little bit about the wrestling tournament. You guys expanded it a couple of years ago and made more wrestlers available for that. How's that been working out, you feel?
That's a great question. We actually have our Wrestling Advisory Committee meeting tomorrow morning here in Boone. It's almost like you snuffed out our agenda there. It has been successful in getting more kids in schools opportunities at the state tournaments, and I think that that's what the intention was from the jump. It would offer to you that I think there's, again, kind of like basketball, I think there's a little less juice in the building for some of those sessions. I'd be interested to hear what you guys think. I know that you're not down, with the spectators, but you can see everybody when you're up in the booth. What are your thoughts on the last 3 years and those additional qualifiers and the change in the schedule that's had?
I don't mind the change in the schedule. I will agree with you. It was really noticeable, I think, this year and I don't want to call out different class sizes, but there was one class size that really seemed like it was not very full and there was not a lot of energy. But I thought the other 2 class sizes were a little more full. As you know, I'm kind of down there on the mat, so that's kind of what stood out for me. Is that kind of the feeling you guys are getting as well?
Yeah, so I think one reason people really enjoy sports and a lot of our championships is because there's jeopardy involved. And, when you're not going to be eliminated on that first day and we're going to bring everybody back, an issue that we're hearing from schools is, well, our fans may or may not be interested in coming, and the Athletic Association has now increased our expenses by a day or 2 days and, all the way up to 4 days. So, again, I am not a wrestling coach. I am not the wrestling administrator. I'm just somebody that, works and observes the events, and, we're trying to manage it the best we can. I will be interested to see if there's any, schedule adjustments, considered by the advisory committee and then our board. And, if that means qualifier adjustments, TBD.
I know, Jeff, you have talked to several folks that say, honestly, on the negative side of it, that it used to mean a lot more to make the state wrestling tournament. Now it's taken a little bit of that prestige away.
Yeah, and that's actually coming from coaches that are currently coaching, that they do feel like the additional, kids qualifying kind of takes that luster away from what it means to make state. Do you think that'll be part of that discussion that you're talking about, Chris?
I think so a bit, and I'll be interested to hear what our partners over at the Iowa Wrestling Coaches and Officials Association. They'll have a handful of representatives in the room tomorrow, and I'll be interested to hear what they have to say about that, because they might feel completely differently than you and I or some of those coaches. Folks work hard, and it's always a multi-year process to add qualifiers and to try and make an event more inclusive. Now, after 3 years, it's on the Athletic Association to take a little bit of responsibility and say, this worked, this didn't, or this worked and we need to improve this, and here's how we can do it. And so I think, our starting place is not, well, let's get rid of, a class and 16 kids and whatever. That's not the plan. That's not the starting spot. It's how can we adjust the schedule? How can we add a little bit more, excitement and, maybe cross over some of those classes again, like we used to get more folks in the building interested in what's going on the mat for a longer period of time.
Chris, on a little brighter side, highlights for you over the winter sports season, whether it be, I know you've told us before that bowling has grown into a great state tournament and a great sport here, but between wrestling, bowling, basketball, the other sports, swimming, what were some of the highlights for you this winter season?
That's a great question. This is the busiest 3 months I've ever had. Because of our media rights arrangement and planning. and it's funny because we are going to Hilton, but our state basketball tournament week was maybe the best tournament week I've had, in this job or over the past, at least in the last 5 years. There was excitement. There were really competitive basketball games. Teams were excited to be there, enjoyed their experience. Whether that was positive feedback or just really good basketball, it really put a nice cap on everything because I enjoy getting to each of those events, and every venue and event offers something different. But it was a nice way to cap off that really busy time. And then, obviously we had a couple of kind of big announcements immediately after. So.
I know that Kemper took part in a great basketball event down in Des Moines. Jeff, who was with all the Catholic schools kind of down in that area. Do you see more of those type things coming our way in basketball? Because it was such an exciting thing for the fans of those teams.
As the Athletic Association that does not currently sanction any of those, does not currently, sponsor those regular season events, I hope so. I'm fortunate to be part of our rankings committees on a handful of sports, and it is exciting for basketball for those crossover events to happen, whether that's, the 4-team Catholic event that was held in West Des Moines, or, the CIML MVC crossover that was in Cedar Rapids, or even another crossover that was at Waukee. I think even Western Christian came down. And, that was, 3 different classes represented, a handful of different conferences. Those kind of events, when schools are willing to play them, we hope that raises the profile of basketball in our state and keeps competitive games, going all year long.
One more question for you, Chris, before we let you go. I know you're busy and things, but participation numbers. It all comes down to that. As an association, you guys are trying to encourage as many kids to be out and be active as possible. What were the latest numbers that you've seen on participation for the boys?
We've fortunately seen quite a bit of plateauing. There's still some growth in soccer and cross country. Some of our sports, because of the changes, so we're adding schools to bowling, but the participants are staying around the same. Football participation has stayed around the same. Our basketball participation is the same or decreasing slightly. Fortunately, on the boys' side of things, we're not in as bad of a situation as girls' basketball has been, and I'm sure you guys could do another hour on that. But that might be the glaring red light that's going on in all the participation numbers right now. But fortunately, it has been pretty stable, and we're kind of taking the view in participation numbers as there was the 5 to 10 years right before COVID happened, and then there's that 2 to 3 year wiggle right around that affected things, and now we're seeing how we're coming out the other side of it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting the next couple of years to see how that basketball tournament works out at Hilton Coliseum. Exciting news for you guys. Chris, we thank you for your time, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, great having me on, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much. Chris Cuellar, once again, from the Boys Athletic Association, talking about, they're moving the basketball tournament to Hilton Coliseum. They've got great numbers, really, for sports and expanded wrestling coverage. They've got some things going their way.
Yeah, and people have been asking me my thoughts on the move to Hilton, and I keep telling them I'm excited to see what it's going to be like. It is a little bit of a shorter trip for us. As Chris said, it doesn't mean a whole lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Honestly, I think the logistics is something that's going to be important for people coming in from rural areas, that Hilton's so much easier to get to.
Right. Yeah. And I don't think that Wells Fargo really is that difficult. You just jump on 235 and exit it off. And it's
you jump on 235, then you go 90 miles per hour until you've got to slam on your brakes. It's for people not used to that. I mean, and then you've got parking to deal with. You got one-way streets. It's just, it's a whole different atmosphere. Not that it's bad,
right?
But it's just different.
Yeah. And I like the move to Hilton. I guess what I keep telling everybody is I'm kind of waiting to see what it's like, what the atmosphere is like for a media guy. Where are we going to be set up, and what's it going to be like for us to be able to get interviews and the working aspect of it. I've gotten so used to working down at Wells Fargo Arena over the last, almost 20 years that I know where everything's at. I know all the shortcuts to get to those places. Now I'm going to have to learn Hilton Coliseum in a way that I've probably never known Hilton Coliseum.
Mason, typical Blankman, only thinking of himself, man. That's ridiculous. Anyway, it was Sci-Town there.
Yes.
I did not even think about that for some reason. It just never even dawned on me. But, yeah, that's a great reason to relocate.
Well, and I mentioned it. You go down to Coralville for the girls' state wrestling tournament and the girls' volleyball tournament, and there's welcome to the area signs to the girls' thing. There's pink all over. Like, they really deck out the entire area down there. But what's really cool is there's several hotels that are within just a block or two of the arena, and there's 6-7 restaurants all within a block or two of the area. So you don't have to get in your car really to go anywhere. You can just walk everywhere you need to go. And I have a feeling that Sci-Town's going to make Hilton Coliseum very much like that.
Yeah, and recently, you've seen success with the Cyclones of both football and basketball, boys and women's basketball. And being in that area, you got football right there. You got that kind of bridge that they just added in recently. They're going to have Sci-Town right between both things. It's just going to feel like more of a kind of inviting atmosphere where everyone's going to be able to walk in, do whatever you want, and then be able to go and sit and watch good basketball.
I tell you what, there's been a lot of colleges that have noticed that Sci-Town plan and are trying to emulate that in their area. It's like, let's make this an entertainment district rather than just a football stadium or something here. So it's interesting. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. More KCIM Sports Rewind next.
As the athletes at your house prepare for hard work and fun of the season, remember that St. Anthony Rehab Services provides physical therapy for any sports injury that may sideline your member of the team. Sports injuries can plague kids of all ages and keep them from playing the sport they love. Athletes will be under the direct supervision of a certified and licensed healthcare professional in the newly renovated sports performance facility. If an injury is keeping your athlete out of the game, call St. Anthony Rehabilitation Services at 794-5000 for sports injury and treatment rehab.
It is KCIM Sports Rewind. We got a couple more minutes left of the program. Got to squeeze in our trivia question here. And Mason, your time to shine. You got to help out the old man Blankman over here.
I'm still struggling.
If Honnold was here, I'm sure he would know the answer.
No.
We don't have that going for us today. All right. Name all 5 schools that have won at least 3 NCAA women's basketball championships.
Well, UConn and
talking
Tennessee
the women.
are the 2 easy ones.
Yeah, there's a couple of real gimmies there.
Baylor was a 3rd.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start over again. Mason, give me your guess.
Just for the final 2 or the 3 we've already said?
Nope. Just of the 5.
So like Blankman said, UConn and Tennessee.
Yeah. Those are 2. Yeah. Correct.
Baylor.
And now you guys are stuck with 3 wins each. One was a very recent winner. In fact,
LSU?
No.
Okay.
South Carolina?
Very South Carolina. There we go.
Okay.
And
Old
we got
Dominion.
one more. No, not
I
Old
told you I'm going to go old school on some of these.
No, I mean old school as in maybe
60s,
within the
70s,
last
and 80s.
15 years.
Yeah, okay, so that's somebody that's won it within the last 15 years.
Yep, and you're going to think, oh, how did I not think about this? Big 12 school.
Big 12 school.
Texas Tech?
Not Texas Tech.
No.
Not for women's basketball. Who had the big superstar in women's basketball before, like Caitlin Clark? And
Cheryl Swoops, Texas. No,
Nope. You're close. It's in the state of Texas. It is
Houston.
No.
Texas?
No. We're narrowing it down. It's not TCU.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's not SMU. It's not UTEP.
I already said Baylor, so I can't think of any.
No. You did not say Baylor.
I did say Baylor.
Yeah. Okay.
It was UConn, Tennessee, and Baylor were my first 3. So.
You must. No. Wait. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There's another one out there.
Okay.
I lost track.
Okay.
Pac-12.
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 Yep. Women's basketball, they were always
USC
a strong
or
program.
UCLA, Stanford.
No. Stanford. There you go.
Yeah, Tara Vanderveer. Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah, I got Baylor and Stanford mixed up there.
Not a problem.
If Honnold was here, that wouldn't have happened.
We would have still been searching for the first answer.
I think he's been lonely. He has texted us, said, "Hey, you haven't bashed on me in 2 weeks." We made sure we took care of that today.
Yeah.
So we got that checked that off the list.
Well, he did call me here a week or so ago, and asked if he could get into the bracket challenge. I says, Jeff, we don't want to give you the last place trophy all the time. So we're not going to let you in so somebody else can finish in last this year.
All right, spring sports season, they're underway. Probably media days. They're probably long past media days. Are they?
We're still doing them. We've been to a lot of our schools. We've got 2 going today. Mason will be at Carroll Soccer, and I'm headed down to Audubon. A little bit of a change in the schedule there for this morning. We'll have track down there today, and then golf and tennis are going to move to Thursday. But speaking of Thursday, we have our first outdoor track meet. The Carroll Tigers girls and boys hosting their early bird. Bunch of teams going to be there. The only other area school that we cover that will be there will be Kemper. And that, we've got media days every day this week and now almost every day next week. So
honestly, Thursday, the forecast, 68 degrees, which is great. Not a ton of wind, but there's also that about 30-40% chance of late afternoon showers and thunderstorms.
They moved it to afternoon. Last time I had looked, it had been in the morning, so now it's moving to the afternoon.
A little bit more in the afternoon, a little bit more Thursday night maybe. But, so actually, hopefully we get some of this in because some of these early spring sports events just get wiped out of the schedule.
Yeah, next week it'll get full. We'll have a bunch of stuff coming up on Monday. But, I got one more school that I'm waiting to hear when they're going to schedule their media day, and I'm hoping to hear on that one
Shall
soon.
we call them out right now, or do you want to let them go?
I'll be nice.
For now,
yes.
If they're still waiting to schedule next week, we're calling them out.
If we haven't heard anything by next Tuesday, I will. Because I've texted and emailed a few times, I will call them out.
They will be named our least favorite sports person of the week, which we haven't done for a while.
You haven't done one of those for a while. Do you have one?
Oh, I got plenty of them, but I just don't have time to name them all now.
It's not Jeff Honnold, right?
No. All right, we're going to turn the corner here. We're going to start praising Jeff Honnold next week. But that'll be next week. We don't have time to do that this week.
Ooh, glad I got a week to prepare for that.
Got to think of something to say, right? That is KCIM Sports Rewind for this week.